Hello, everybody. Hello, Lou. Welcome.
Hello.
So, about twice a month, we get together as a community and we talk about some aspect of real estate investing because
Okay.
there are a lot of ways for us to make money with real estate investing. And you are not only a successful fix and flipper, but you also have done ground up construction as well. So, we wanted to just have you come and educate individuals with regards to your story, how you got involved in real estate investing. And ultimately, I know a lot of the people are interested in the ground up stuff as well. So we'll talk about that. Um, what we usually do is I kind of talk with you for about 20 minutes, just kind of get a baseline of information, and then we open it up to everybody else who is on the call. So, first of all, welcome again. Thank you so much for spending your time here with us this evening. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you became a real estate investor?
Okay. Well, I guess first up, I need to clarify that I'm getting into the game of ground up construction. I have yet to
Okay.
build anything yet.
Okay.
Um, I have acquired land, have subdivided that land, going through the process of adding water, and the land's already cleared. So, sorry for the people who came here looking for that. But have been doing some successful flips here in Texas. I live in Virginia, so I'm actually doing out of state. But just a little bit about me. Originally from Northeast Texas, and got back into the real estate game in 2021 or so. Prior to that, I had a rental property in Baltimore. That did not go well. Learned a lot from that property. Matter of fact, that's basically a lot of things I can definitely teach from. Is that I've had a lot of just of those, like, okay, these are the experiences that you kind of hear people talk about, and definitely had those, whether it be dealing with property managers or tenants and vacancies and stuff of that nature. So um, then also bought a property in Annapolis, and right around the time that COVID hit, went through kind of a divorce, decided to sell that property. That property actually had a rental unit, part of it.
Mhm.
So that really like changed my way of thinking with my main property, and was something I was trying to get into for a couple years before that, and was able to do that. So you know come full circle into 2021. Went through kind of a period to where I lost my job, and decided, you know what, this is a perfect time for me to get down to Texas. And 2021 was a pretty interesting year, as everybody was for everybody.
Everybody knows that. Yeah.
We definitely got that whole pre-COVID and post-COVID now
Hmm.
uh, thing that we have to deal with, and definitely was no different from that. So during that time, actually ended up losing my father, not to COVID. The poor
Oh,
guy wrecked his motorcycle,
oh,
and
goodness. Oh.
everything. And so, but this is kind of leading into how I got back into real estate, unfortunately, because again, I was kind of jobless at the time. Lost a very good job, and then my father died, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back to Texas, and I'm going to personally renovate this property, right? So at that time I had liquidated the Baltimore property, the Annapolis property, had definitely had some good equity, good cash on hand, and was able to go down there, take a property that I essentially acquired for about $10,000, and because I paid off, my father was doing a lease to own, so it paid off the remainder of what he owed to the lady. She was more than happy to honor their agreement and everything, which was very much a very loose agreement. Like, wow, I took it to a lawyer, and he was like, yeah, you better do something with this fast. She does
Before
not
she
have to
changes her
sell it to
mind.
you at all. So again, just was like, okay, he owes you 10,000. Here's the 10,000, and
Mhm.
you took over that property, renovated it with my own money. Noticed that there was another building on that property that could be converted into a rental as well. So once I finished one, went straight into the next one. Did Did all the work myself. Well, I can't say I did all the work myself. My mom was there every single day helping. She is a big player in my investing. Absolutely. I mean, even right now with the out of state rentals that I'm doing, renovations and fix and flips in Texas. I mean, she is you know she is mom. I mean, she is doing tons of work for me. and, and
Go
I,
mom.
yeah, oh, I tell you, I mean, she's 68-year-old woman, and she's most certainly out there just doing some. I mean, today she was scraping bathtubs because of overspray from contractors. So I'm just extremely blessed that I have a very active mother who is more than willing to go and do these things and handle some of these contractors. But was able to turn that into 2 rentals, then came back up here to Virginia, got another job. And from there, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do, but since I'd been down there in Texas, I made a lot of contacts. So it took a bad thing, turned it into a good thing. You made a lot of good contacts down there. A real estate agent actually reached out to me after a couple months of moving back, and she's like, "Hey, I got a property you might be interested in." And looked at the property, was like, okay, this will be a great burn. So bought that property, started burning. Excuse me. Was able to essentially flip that property into a nice rental. It's been rented every day since. Bought it for 60,000, put about 80,000 into it, right at 140, raised that over 200. So took a good time off because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. And then at the beginning of 2023, I bought 3 properties. Was able to buy 2 on the same street in the same town, and again, been doing flips on them since. I've got the 3rd one that we're about to start. Those have been very much learning experiences because it has not gone according to plan. So that's just kind of where I'm at right now. Let's turn it back over to you. See if there's any other question as far as that goes.
Sure. So let's first of all start with the things that went wrong when you got your first couple of deals up here. Well, your first one in Baltimore. Just very quickly, what went wrong? What are some of the cautionary things you would suggest to new investors with regards to that?
So that was my very first rental property. I thought for the most part that with the property manager, you could be very hands off, and that kind of wasn't the case. They started off very strong, but over time, I think they grew to where they more managed their properties because they were local investors in the area, and so they spent a little bit more time managing their properties than my property. And so I had vacancies. I mean, it was in a good location. It was in Federal Hill,
Okay.
which is one of the prime locations in Baltimore
Yeah.
for rentals. But it was a high payment. It was poorly managed on my part, but also on their part. And it's just one of those things that it was such an old building that continually required cash to be put into it. Now, on the back end, when you own multiple properties and you have the tax benefit of some of those, it kind of evens out. But overall, the cash required, it was definitely a loser. It was not a winner at all.
Okay. So
Finally, on that one too, the appreciation never really actually happened
yeah.
between when we bought it and sold it because of that market. So it's just not a good market for me.
Yeah. A lot of people do think that you can get appreciation in every market, and that's not the case. There are some cases it's just cash flow. But if you're not getting cash flow and you're not getting appreciation, then that's kind of tough. So I'm fascinated with your Texas story then. So first of all, what part of Texas were you investing in?
So right now I'm invested in Northeast Texas. My buy box really is anywhere from, Texarkana out to Paris, Texas, down to Dallas, and then out to like Longview, Texas. So I've got kind of a big area there. And again, I know the area. So I'm really doing something that's a little different than most, I guess, is because I'm looking at rural properties. You know,
And I think
rural,
that's fascinating too. Yeah.
right? Rural is a really unique niche, and there's kind of a, you know, some intricacies that go along with that.
Mhm.
One, again, people don't move as fast as they move up here. We move at a much different speed up here in Virginia and DC and so forth in the Northeast. Down there, things are a little bit slower. I mean, it took me even just the land that I bought to divide there. It took me a little over a year just to do that. I mean,
Mhm.
I would call the county clerk. They'd be like, "Oh, just fill out the paper, do everything that's on the paper." But then they'd be like, "Well, this you don't even need this. Like this part right here." And then again, they were like, "Oh, well, we just changed our rules, so we don't even know them ourselves." We're like, "Oh man."
Now, do you think
Um,
it really was because of it's a slower pace being southern and rural area, or do you think it was because you're an out-of-town investor who couldn't necessarily go and like be belly to belly with them all the time?
no, that's just the nature of that beast. Is that it is that's
Okay.
how life is down there. I know I sure miss it a lot. I definitely would like the slower pace of life,
Mhm.
but uh, yeah, that's just how it is in kind of that niche market. But there's some gold mines out there if you can find them because I take my hometown that I'm from to where I just bought these two that are on the same street. There are four more that are right next to it that could be flipped. There are zero rentals available in the area, and some people might think like, okay, you want these places to where like Dallas is probably a much larger market, more people. But when you have that touch point with some of these places like that, again, this is my hometown. I know that people want to move there. I know that the town that's next to it, people don't want to send their kids to a 5A school. They want to send their kids to a 2A and 3A school. It's a smaller atmosphere. And that's what,
What does that
this.
mean? 5A versus 2A and 3A? What does that
Okay.
mean?
So in my understanding with the school districts, especially in Texas, the larger they are, the higher up they go in number.
Okay.
So
So
for
you mean like
instance,
class size?
correct. Yeah. Like,
Got it.
so for me, I had 50 people in my graduating class. That's
Hmm.
how small the town I grew up to. Still did all right. Right. So so the mentality out there is a little bit different than what we're kind of used to around here. I mean, here you have private schools, still you have good districts and everything, but there they kind of want that like away from the city. It's away from the city mentality there. And a small rural town, and there's a real revitalization that's going on in a lot of the small towns out there in Texas. Matter of fact, I challenge anybody, take a trip to Texas and you'll see how much investing and how much growth is going on in Texas right now.
Well, especially because a lot of companies are leaving California and New York. They're not all going to Florida. There are a lot of companies that are selecting Texas. Are you looking at any kind of economic development as you're deciding whether or not you're going to invest in some of these areas?
So with the rural side, again, you're not going to get that as much.
Okay.
However, the way that I mean Dallas and all that is just it's trending outward. It's going to continue to grow outward as I've seen it progress over the years because being from there, I've seen it progress from Dallas towards Rockwall, and these are cities that are kind of going in the northeast vector. But then there's also Weatherford, which is out kind of southwest, which is a great area. So and not only that, you could kind of consider some of these areas suburbs of Dallas still, even though it's an
Okay.
hour drive. I mean, a lot of people in North Virginia drive an hour or more. I mean, I know people who drive West Virginia into Virginia every day. So,
Hmm. Absolutely. So then let's talk a little bit about the ground up construction. Just from what you've done thus far and you're seeing the process. So you're doing ground up construction in these rural areas as well, right?
yes, absolutely. So, and kind of the one of the reasons I chose this area was because the individual who I had planned to utilize as my GC, in the area is my best friend. He's a plumber. He's done a couple of these builds. So, and his dad is also a builder and has had really good success in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Back in 2020 to 2019 to 2021, he was able to build a house plus acquisition anywhere from 300 to 400,000, and was able to sell it in the $625 to $650,000 range.
Okay.
So there was actually quite a good spread there. Now times have changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So going into this, I set a lot of this in motion probably as far back as 2018, and I'm still not there yet. I can talk about kind of how I've gone about funding this initially, but some of the things that I've done thus far, straight to your point of your question, has been just the acquisition of land, 10 acres of land. I've
Now, how did you
subdivided that.
find that land? How did you
That was MLS. Yep.
MLS?
Stopped
Okay, so you went
MLS.
through the MLS, you found the
Mhm.
land. Did you do any kind of surveying on it or anything like that to make sure it was something you could build on, like before you
Absolutely.
closed on it? What did you do before you closed on?
So I paid for a water analysis
Mhm.
to be done, because that was one of the biggest things that I could see impacting me. Was a lot of these places, again, when you're rural, there can be so it's actually kind of a funny story. The local utility will make you pay to put in their infrastructure so that you can reach your land, and then even from there, if they put in five more people on that, you don't get a cut of that, but
Right.
you spend 30 to $200,000, whatever it might cost to get water to your property.
Yeah, you're
That was kind
funding
of
the
fun.
infrastructure.
Exactly.
It's funny you mentioned that because my mother and I, when we live in rural America now as well, but when we were looking around, we were actually going to purchase a plot of land, and we found some, and the next door neighbor said, there's no water on that land, right?
Mhm.
So like, it's just when you are a city person or suburbs person your whole life, and then you transition to rural, they're just things you don't think of. The other big thing is internet as well. And just making
Yes.
sure that there's proper infrastructure for that when people are choosing to invest in rural areas, just making sure that you're thinking about that. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but go ahead.
And
So,
one of the and and I made sure that the local electric utility would provide there. Now there are also already houses near this and up and down the street.
mhm,
The biggest thing for me was the water.
mhm.
The other really interesting thing about rural is you don't need permits. That's something a lot of people don't understand with rural, is that there's no electrical inspection that's coming out, no front. You're still going to get all of that, but there's
Well, they
the
come
only
in our
really.
area, so don't do that in Maryland. I'll say that.
Oh yeah,
At least not
exactly.
in
This
Harford
is rural
County.
Texas.
Not in Harford
Uh,
County.
this is rural Texas.
Yeah.
There is a septic. I mean, septic is the one that you do need. That is the
Mhm.
one per. My dog keeps trying to come in between me here. That is the one thing you definitely need to get permitted. But other than that, I mean, even the flip that I'm doing right that we're about to start this next week. I mean, I called them and they're like, no, you don't need any electrical inspection or plumbing or anything like that. I was like, but you do need a septic. If you change the septic, you need to get that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So did you use a realtor in the closing process? Did you have any representation?
Yes, I had again, guy that I met while I was down there. He showed me a couple properties. We kind of clicked on the whole investor thing. He's like, "Oh, you watch Bigger Pockets?" I was like, "Oh, I watch Bigger Pockets too." Yeah, absolutely. So, we kind of kicked off a good friendship right there. Actually, I have the land for sale right now too, just to throw it out there. It's one of those like, hey, if it sells and it sells at the price I'm asking, I'm happy.
Mhm.
But and he's got it listed there too. I like to try to develop those relationships that can continue for a good long time, and somebody to rely on. And he's brought me several deals that haven't been able to act on, but going to continue in the future, and hopefully we can.
Right. So tell us a little bit. You have your your friend who is a
Mhm.
general contractor whose family, I think you said his father, has been building houses from the ground up. If somebody were to interview a general contractor with ground up experience, what are some of the things that people should ask? Obviously, you know this individual, but if somebody on this call doesn't know the individual, what are some of the interview questions that they should be asking in order to determine if this is going to be a good partner for them and their ground up construction project?
I think one of the first things is will they sign contracts? Will they put their name? Will they sign a piece of paper that absolutely says they're going to deliver what they're going to deliver, how they're going to deliver it? Um, some type of probing questions as to materials, maybe the way that they might construct beams, maybe the local ordinances. Again, because it's going to differ wherever you go. Just again, try to probe for those things to where you get that not so warm and fuzzy that they might be pulling the wool over your eyes, so to speak. uh, I would say, if they're going to use subcontractors, take a look at their subcontractor agreements. um, those are some of the big things right there with contractors that I've dealt with in the past. I mean, I've had contractors just get mad just because I wanted them to detail things out on a piece of paper,
Mhm.
so that it's like, no, this way we have a checklist that you can go through, and you did A, B, and C. I want to make sure that there's no misconception on either of our parts. So, and of course, look at previous work. That's one everybody's always going to say. But I mean, it's hard in this day and age to really find good people that you can trust. So a lot of this actually does have to deal with whether or not you can trust the individual, and that'll help continue to earn work. Matter of fact, I mean, I had a very with one of the flips that I'm doing right now. I mean, I had the electrician just blow up on my mom because he was having a bad day, wasn't in the right frame of mind there. And, we ended up having to have a come to Jesus meeting. We really did. Cause
Goodness.
it was one of those like, listen, you're not going to talk to my mom. I was like, if I spoke to your mom in the manner in which you spoke to mine, like, how would you feel about that?
Hmm.
And I was like, you wouldn't be happy because I would never speak to your mom in the manner in which you spoke to mine.
Right, right.
Um, so, because again, these people, they're people, they're human.
Hmm.
Um, and at that point, I was really ready to never do any kind of work with him at all. But out of the blue, before he and I ever had that conversation, he contacted my mom and he apologized. So
Hmm.
that showed me right there the type of individual that he
Character.
was. Like, he's somebody who can recognize this, where he went wrong,
Yeah.
and not only that, kind of man up to be able to reconcile that. So.
Right, right. So, um, I would like to tell everybody just a little bit about the financing with regards
Mhm.
to the ground up construction in particular. So there are now a couple of ground up construction options. So if you're building anywhere from a 1 unit to a 4 unit and you intend to live in one of the units, then there is a one-time closed new construction loan that is available to you as an investor or as the person who's going to be living in that residence for 5% down payment. So we just like to let people know that. If you are going to do ground up construction as just an investment property, then there are options available for you as well. So definitely coming and asking me about some of the options that are available, even in the prefab world. So some of you are thinking of doing some sort of quote unquote container homes or, homes that are being manufactured someplace else and assembled on site, then those do qualify for the 5% down payment as well. I do based on the options that I'm seeing with regard to the different types of funding that's available, I believe that the United States really is trying to deal with the affordable housing crisis. So, anybody who is looking to do ground up construction, there are options available for you, whether you're going to use it to live in or you're going to use it as an investment property. Um, Also, one thing that you mentioned as well was you mentioned a house that also had like another, I'm going to call it an ADU, accessory dwelling unit. There are lenders now that will fund those accessory dwelling units for you as well. So for everybody who's listening today, there are options. If you have, a house and you have a separate, it has to either be a detached garage or you can actually build something from the ground up and get that rental income from that ADU as well. So I just want to make sure people knew that. Anything else before we open it up to the community that is here?
I'd like to add something to that too. I mean, I've again, my property in Annapolis, when I had that, had an ADU to it, an apartment
Mm,
that was attached to it, separate entrance and everything. My home here in Virginia also has an apartment attached to it. That has been one of the most beneficial things for me for the past 10 years. Is having a home that is essentially a duplex or has an ADU,
mhm,
because I mean, just the financial gain from it alone, taking an area to where we already live, where it's expensive to live, most homes and everything are with, especially with rates and everything, what they've been probably 2,000 to 5,000 plus,
mhm,
wherever you live. But when you're able to um, have that, there's so many tax benefits in there that are really beneficial, especially if you share any kind of utility like electric.
mhm.
All of a sudden your electric bill's gone down.
It's reduced.
Then from a business perspective too, anything that you're doing landscaping wise, you're starting to be able to write so much more off that really are part of your true day-to-day maintenance of your property. You paint your entire property.
Mhm.
That's again goes back to your ADU, your apartment. That's part of that. That's where I've had a lot of success with different things. Is on the tax side. I did my first cost segregation this year. That was very beneficial to me. Um, I've done right now. I've got my day job, and I've actually moved my rental company underneath my day job, and I'm utilizing that to pretty much forward depreciation through one company to another company because they're both an S corp and an LLC, so they pass directly to me anyway.
Mhm.
Um, I'm going to utilize that structure here in the near future to pay off these two properties that I've purchased this last year. So there's definitely ways to go around doing this that can really benefit you on the tax side, and I would definitely send that out to anybody. If you're looking to do this, start with forming a company. Don't form it yet though. Form it in January.
Talk to your accountant and your attorney. Talk to
Yeah,
your accountant and your attorney. Yes.
exactly.
Yes. So, well, I want to open it up. Anybody can unmute yourself. You don't necessarily have to be on camera, but if you have questions about fix and flip or ground up construction, I did have one more thing to say as people are thinking of their questions, and that is as a lender, lenders will not fund you doing a ground up construction before you've done some fix and flips. So just kind of keeping, unless you're building a house for yourself, like a one unit house for yourself, that can be done. But if you are looking to do investment properties that are ground up construction, they are going to want you to have some um, fix and flips under your belt for that. So I just want to make sure people knew that as well. So with that, you can unmute yourselves if anybody has a question for Lou with regards to anything that he's gone over this evening. I should have planted a question. Anybody has a question?
Okay.
Okay.
You know what?
Lou,
I can,
what were your building costs approximately, like per square footage? Did you break that down for the place you built in Texas?
I don't have the sheet in front of me. Generally around 150 per square foot, if I'm not mistaken, if that's on the back end. Yeah. Uh, the one quote that my buddy put together for me was about 300,000, and that was, give me one second. I'll do a quick math right here. So yeah, 300,000 divided by 2,000. Yep, 150.
150. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And so what were the specs on that? So you acquired the land for how much again?
So the land I acquired for 170,000.
Okay, but that was for the whole plot though. Each
Right.
individual lot. How many lots did you get out of that?
I have 3 lots, 3 acres each,
Okay.
and right now I
Right.
basically have them for sale for around 130,000 each one of
Okay.
them.
So um oh, I'm sorry. How much for the lots again? Did you say? I missed that.
130,000 each.
130,000 each. Okay. And how big were the houses?
The houses are going to range anywhere from 1,800 to 2,300 square feet.
Okay. And what did you sell the houses for, or have you sold them yet?
Oh no, I haven't even built them. That's I don't know if you missed that part as we started off. Is that
Yeah, I'm sorry. I yeah, joined late here. Yeah.
no problem, no problem. I'm getting into this. This is something that I've been planning to do for several years now, and so I haven't sold anything yet, haven't built anything yet. We've just gone through fix and flips thus far, done at least 4 of those,
Uh-huh.
and so again, acquired the land. I'm putting water on it now. That's taken several months. I paid them roughly about $12,000 to bore under the road and bring
Okay.
water over to the property, which is great because
Uh-huh.
I was like, hey, so long as it's not $30,000 or $40,000 to get water to the property, that was great for me.
Yeah.
The and that still hasn't been done. And I put that back in August, and I keep texting the guy every once in a while because I'm on a different schedule with this, right? I'm not rushing into this market that we're in right now. There's a lot of places that new builds and new construction have actually kind of ticked up over the past 6 to 12 months. I've seen that, but where I'm at in the rural areas, things are sitting on market for a little bit longer than I would like. I'm looking at holding that debt of a newly finished house and or ground up construction loan. I don't want to hold that debt for this period of time right now. Kind of playing the game, just trying to see where rates go and continually progress towards that goal of building 3 houses on that property.
Okay. And what do you so have you like run some projections of what you think you would be able to sell each of your houses for once you build them?
Yes,
And what your
absolutely.
cost would be? Yeah, you have it's not like you have a cost estimate, which I
Yeah,
guess presume.
unfortunately, I don't have
Yeah.
it in front of me, so I don't have the exact numbers, but roundabout, I believe that around I could probably sell those properties right now if I did them right now, anywhere from 485 to 550. That would be my
Okay,
selling price for those
that
properties.
would be what you sell them for. And what would your all-in price be on those? Would you think if you were to sell them at that price?
Oh, you mean like my back
Yeah,
end
you're
profit?
all in cost. He's asking your all.
Your cost, your all-in cost.
Oh, all in cost. Trying to think. I haven't looked at that here in a second. Let's see. I probably 80,000 minus that. I'd probably be in the $420,000 range. So yeah, looking at
Okay.
roughly about $100,000 profit
Okay.
per. And again, that changes so much because one trade says I can do it, then they leave. There's just so many variables in there.
Uh,
you to analysis paralysis, this kind of thing, to where it's you're never going to get to that firm, like it's absolutely, unless it's from another builder, maybe, to where it's going to cost exactly this to the penny. There's always going to be little things that pop up. And
Those
again, and
margins are
I'm a brand new guy at that, so
yeah, those margins are really tight, Lou. If one thing happens or
yeah,
goes wrong, then your profit is like gone. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why, again, that's why I'm playing with the because initially it was, hey, we can, you know, uh we can acquire for, or we can build for around 300. We can, put in the infrastructure, and then the sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the other part. Oh, again, once you take out the realtor fees and all that from selling, but that's why when we started this, it was like, hey, in 20 prior to 2021 and COVID and everything, it was looking like, hey, we're going to be able to get 650 to 625 to 650 for these properties, and so it was a much higher margin at that time.
That's very interesting because what you're saying is the prices in that specific area of Texas have gone down, which I've heard there are some places where the prices have gone down, but there are very few in the United States. So,
Well, and a lot of people will say that with rural properties too, like they're one of the first to react
yeah.
to these types of markets. So,
Mhm.
and again, this is just for me watching things on that are on market and have been on market, and I've sat longer than normal. But and again, with rural market, I mean that's a labor force kind of issue there too, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people in those areas aren't making the type of money and able to afford those types of properties.
Right, right. Versus if somebody did something in certain parts of Central Virginia or near the Richmond area or someplace like that, the numbers, Blacksburg area, for example, the numbers would look a little bit different in the Virginia area. So,
Again, that's why I'm just, again, slowly progressing
mhm,
towards that goal. Once I start to see some kind of reaction in the rates, if at all possible, if I hold the property for another year, hold the property for another year. The more improvements I do to it, the more uh, in value it goes up. Like I've already had offers for much more than I gave for it. I'm just not. It's one of those, like, sure, if I gave 17 because it was 10 acres, I gave 17 an acre for it, right? Sure, I could get 24 an acre, but I can make more profit if I build and sell.
mhm.
And just, I've got an asset, and I'm holding it till the time's right.
Okay. Any other questions, Pete?
Yeah, so the well that you are drilling, is that going to be for all three lots? They'll all be drawn from the same well, or how does that work? Or do they each have their own separate one?
So there is a water utility. I paid $1,000 to do an analysis to ensure that there was correct size pipage and all that with the water utility. So I'm just basically boring they're boring under the road eventually, and bringing water over to the property. Each one of the water meters on the property is going to cost about $4,000 a piece. So that's how I'm going to get water to the property.
Okay. And I think you did say the septic has to go in later. Um, or did you not say that?
No, I did not say that. No.
Okay.
Pretty much, that's going to be one of the. I mean, we'll dig it, we'll have the location for it, get the permits, and whether they say before or after is what we'll go with.
Yeah, this is one of those things where you heavily lean on your general contractor who has a ton of experience doing ground up construction. So definitely. Any other questions, Pete?
I think that's it for now. Thanks,
Okay.
Cheree.
You're welcome. Anybody else have questions? with regards to fix and flips or ground up construction? Going once.
So I guess
Going
one of the ways I could talk about how I funded this or initially funded this.
Yeah, you can do that.
So because again, this is one of those things that people aren't, especially if you're trying to get into this. What I did in order to fund this was I utilized money from my 401k. Been working for several years, had decent amount of money saved up in my 401k, and I was able to do what's called a ROBS transaction. Most people are afraid to utilize their 401k because they're afraid of the taxes. Well, there are various ways to utilize that money so that you are not impeded by the taxes or taxed on withdrawing that money. The one that I chose was a ROBS transaction because the idea that I wanted was to be able to build an active business that I could, change over into. There's also one known as a self-directed IRA, which is a little bit different. I can speak a little bit more on the ROBS because that's the one that I've done. And again, that's for like an active business. Now, an active business allows you to, let me explain this real fast. So, you've got your 401k over here. That's from your normal day in, day out job, W-2. Well, with a ROBS transaction, they create another 401k over here, and you move money into that new 401k. From there, you have a business down here, and this new 401k can actually buy stock in that business that you own. When that money goes from this 401k to that new business, well, that converts it over to cash. It hits your bank account like cash. You're not taxed on it because the 401k is still owning the stock. So that's how, one way that you can get access to your 401k and not be penalized by the taxes. And at that point, you can use it to buy whatever you need for the company, whether that's a truck that's under the company, whether that's land to be able to do the building, whether that's the funding that the bank's going to need to be able to see so that they see you have enough cash reserves on hand. So that's how I was able to actually fund this and get this kind of started in the right process, in the right direction.
Great. So I will say with the bank, as long as you have the cash reserves in a 401k, you don't necessarily have to move it, but you could use those funds, for example, for cash to close if you're, looking to do that. So so I know with the self-directed IRA, it has to be from money from a 401k where you're not currently working at that job. With the ROBS, I haven't heard of that before. Is it the same thing where you cannot touch 401k money if you're currently working at that job, or can you?
That will actually probably depend on your current employer and
Okay.
their plan.
Okay.
Luckily, I lost my job.
Yes, well, I remembered that.
So it was
You're
one of
saying
those things again that it just kind of lined up and was like, hey, this is perfect because I was planning to do this anyway.
Mhm.
Lost the job, and hey, now I got the opportunity to do that. So
Yeah.
so
That's
that's
very
how.
interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out. I hadn't heard of that before. Now I've heard of a lot, and I hadn't heard of that. So
One of the other, again, with the self-directed, actually allows you to purchase properties and have passive income. One of the
yeah, but it
big
has to
things
be
about
arm's length. You can't do an active project.
correct, but one of the things about the ROBS is you can't do passive income.
That is
It has
very
to be
interesting.
active.
I'm gonna have
So,
to check
a
that out.
construction business, an Airbnb business, campgrounds, park, stuff of that nature, those are allowable. But again, you would have to consult with the planning consultant, all that kind of thing.
Yes.
Please
Mhm.
don't go rush out, take all your money out of your
No.
401k based on what I just said.
Yep, check with your financial advisor. Yes. Suchin, hi.
Hey, hi there. Hey Lou, so one question I had was, I mean, you said you have to open a separate 401k, right? Is that, would that be the 401k for that company, that your business that you have, or would it have to be separate and then you invest in this business?
I would say absolutely correct. Is that you? Um, and I'll use mine as an example. My company is called Lone Star, and my 401k is also called Lone Star. Um, so the people that I used were called Benetrends. They set this up for me, and they set the retirement plan up in the company name.
Got it. Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
But very, very good question.
Yeah. Anybody else have questions? So tell us what your plans are for 2024. If anybody else has a question, let me know, because we're about to wrap up. But what are your plans for 2024 for your real estate investing business / journey? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, after we finish this current flip that we're about to start, which is under the Lone Star property, so therefore I can't rent it, I can't burr it. It has to be a sell. I'll put that on the market, get that sold. Hopefully, make anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 on that property.
Mhm.
Put that into Lone Star again, and if the timing's right, if things look like it's going to be better here in the near future, mid next year, then I'm going to start the build process. And again, just take the risk. If it comes out that I have to hold a property longer, it's a lot of this is risk. I mean, you're just not going to get away from it. That's the relationship with risk and reward. It's linear. The more risk you take, the more reward you get. I don't want it. I don't want to have to be taken. I don't want to have to be
Hopefully.
taken. Yeah. Well, but that's why we take the risk
Yeah.
for the reward. But going to pay off the 2 properties that I just acquired. Would like to get that free and clear cash flow. A lot of people will probably say, hey, that's not what you want to do. You want to keep that on those properties. But just for me and where I'm at, that's what I want to do with those properties. If I want to refinance those here in the near future, extract that cash and do something with that, I'll have that available. So that's kind of where I'm going to go with those. With the with the remainder of my portfolio, because again I've done those business things where I've brought one company underneath my current day job company. I'm going to be able to have a lot of essentially cash flow to be able to do more investing in rental properties. So by mid next year, when I have both of those paid off, I'm actually going to go and just start acquiring more properties, less on the gut renovation after fix and flips that we've been doing the time. I just kind of burned a little bit on the 2 that I did this year, but I would like to just get into already kind of close to turnkey, possibly Section 8. We will see. So,
Okay.
and I've got it to where, again, my day job is under my own company. I've got enough cash flow coming in there to where I should be able to start buying quite a few properties per year. Just again with my own money.
Good for you. Anybody else have a question for Lou before we wrap up the evening? Just want to give people a chance. Okay. Well, again, want to remind everybody, if you are building from the ground up and you're going to live in the property, anywhere from 1 to 4 units, it's 5% down. If it is a pure investment property, it's 10% down. And the rates are officially coming down. We sent out an email today to people who are in our current system, looking for those rates to be dropping. So, definitely give us a call or text us if there is something that you want priced out, you want to talk about your own situation. There's a lot of loan products and a lot of information out there that we're able to assist you with. So With that, Lou, thank you so much for being our wonderful guest. And everybody else, I hope you have a great Monday, and we'll see you on the next call. Take care, everybody. Good night. Thanks,
Thank you.
Lou.
Thanks for the invite.
Bye.